The 49ers roster is out, and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan spoke about it today. Let's just say they didn't exactly sound cheery. We'll get to all that and more on today's Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the original Gold Standard Podcast. We are part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Levin Black. Levin, what's going on, my friend?
Not a whole lot. Very long day for me.
Well, I think there's a little something going on today, and you know what it is. And for everyone that doesn't know in the chat, today is Lester Levin Black's birthday. Happy birthday, Levin.
Thank you.
I made you a little slide presentation. Did you like that?
Yeah, I'm surprised there was no old person jokes now that I've joined you in the 40s.
Yes, welcome. Here's the thing. Okay, I want to be completely transparent. I made one for Steph for her birthday. I wanted to make one for you. And just real quick, we'll get to the roster stuff in a second. But if you look, there's a spot there for 3 pictures. There's only 2 pictures of Levin because I only have 2 pictures of Levin, one of which you provided for your credential for the Super Bowl and the other of you and me at the Super Bowl. I don't have a third picture of you.
I mean, LinkedIn exists, but yes, I deleted all social media, so it's not like you could easily get on Facebook and find my photos.
I would have bet money that I am friends with your wife on social media. I could not find her. Did she delete her accounts?
No, she's there.
I couldn't find it. I was like, I'll just steal a picture of Levin off of her social media. There has to be one up there. I couldn't find it.
Funny thing, back in the day, and now I'm showing age, in the early days of Facebook, if you searched somebody you had random connection to, I'm kind of friends of a friend or something like that, you would find them. Somewhere in the last 10 years, Facebook destroyed their searching for people. You search for somebody now, and it's just random who you get that has that name. They will give you, for instance, I did technically create a fake new Facebook today just so that I could get into a family chat, because my family chats on Messenger, and I refuse to have any Meta apps on my phone or have a Facebook. So I created one under a fake name just so I can go into that chat. And when I'm on a computer, I can at least view the chat and catch up. I had to find my wife today on Facebook.
Not easy to do. I can attest.
I searched her name, and she was not amongst they had and this is why I'm saying that Facebook has destroyed their search, because they had the first 10 people, yes, they had her name. They had the same exact name. And then after that, it started being people that had close to her name, but the first name would start with the same letter, and then they would have the same last name, or it's the same first name and the last name started with the same letter, or it was Black Munn, or some other last name that had Black at the start of it. It's okay, there's other people with the exact name that I searched. Why are you not populating them in this list? Why are you giving me 10 completely random people and then whatever? End rant.
Okay. I can't tell you why.
I found her by putting in first name, maiden name, last name, because even though the maiden name doesn't show anymore on her Facebook, Facebook knows that's her maiden name because she originally created it under that name.
Got it. All right, let's get to some 49ers talk. Enough about your birthday and your social media ranting, you old.
Yeah, enough about my birthday. I don't care for him.
Stop yelling at the clouds. Now, let's get to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's press conference. They spoke today. It was not exactly cheery, okay? And not surprisingly, the first 4 or 5 questions were all about Jauan Jennings, because let's face it, the wide receiver room is very thin, very inexperienced, particularly inexperienced within the 49ers system. So it's kind of a big deal whether Jauan Jennings actually plays week 1. I have the questions. It's a long clip. So what I think we're going to do is I'll play some of the clip. We'll pause it. We'll react to it. And then we will keep going. Does that sound good?
Let's go.
All right, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. Here's how the press conference started.
Making sure the 53.
Yeah, so Jauan's still working through his calf issue, making progress. You know, we're kind of like everyone else, hopeful but not sure, you know, on week one. And, you know, we'll proceed as such. And so we're working to get the best mix out there. We added a piece today, and you know, in MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and thrilled to have him part of it. And you know, we move forward.
Okay, that's not great, Levin. And did you notice he was looking down at the notes when he was talking about the situation? Like, clearly they had a statement that he wanted to get out, a position they wanted to stick to, and he made sure to just read off the damn statement.
I mean, it's not just him. Kyle's body language is, I'm going to stare off in the distance while you spew BS. You know what I mean? Like, if Lynch was honestly answering the question, and I mean like coming up with an answer as if he didn't know the question was coming, Kyle would have been looking at him. But instead, you can tell Kyle knew what he was going to say. And Kyle is like staring off into the distance, and I'm waiting for this to get over with so then I can actually talk football.
It's like the Ben Affleck meme with the, what was that? Hello, darkness, my old friend. He's like staring off as Brendan, or as, what's his face? Henry or whoever was playing Superman at the time was talking about it. All right. So that was the first question about Jauan Jennings. Let's continue.
Are you involved in any other wide receivers?
You know, we're always trying to improve our roster.
AKA, we want to sign Kendrick Bourne. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I thought you were going to say there was more to that, but yeah, I'm not convinced Kendrick Bourne is an improvement, but I'm not against bringing him back.
You guys have mentioned his MRI in the past. Do you guys see progress with that, with the imaging that's been taken on the calf?
Yeah, you don't image a guy like daily, you know. So that's something that happened a little bit ago, and you know, if it doesn't get better soon, I'm sure we'll be doing more of that.
Is it worse than you originally had thought it was going to be?
Yeah, but I also, you know, calves can take a long time. That's one thing with that injury. Played with guys who they can take a while. So
they act like if Jauan Jennings hits a football field, his leg is going to fall off. Like it's not that serious of an injury.
No, I mean, I get what he's saying there. I get both sides of this. And while I'm not confident in my opinion, because I could see it either way, I don't think Jennings is embellishing an injury. I do think he's injured.
I think but is he injured? Like, is it something that he would normally play through? That's the question. And I don't know.
There's a whole bunch of these injuries the players would have played through if it was the regular season. Like, I don't think Michael Williams would have missed any time if it was the regular season. You know, but they're playing it safe. They're trying to get to week 1.
Let's continue.
I'm sure you may be aware that there's been some conjecture that there's more than just a calf going on, given his desire for your contract and everything. Are you convinced when he is healthy that he'll be ready to play?
Well, there's a lot that goes into that, Eric. You know, ideally, everybody has a training camp. Everyone's out there. You know, that's a perfect world. But you know, he's been putting in work to the side, and we'll have to make that judgment when the time comes. You know, the other thing is both things can be true. You know, he wants a new contract and he's got a hurt calf. So I think people want to assume one or the other. Both things can be true.
That is John Lynch confirming that this is not just about the calf injury. That's what that is.
Probably. I mean, possibly. It's.
You could say it. You're right, Rob. You could say it. We all know.
No, the point I'm getting to is like, we have no idea. Like, we do not know. Because I feel like if he's truly wanting traded and trying to force the issue, wouldn't he be better served by like doing a hold in where it's like, yeah, I'm going to practice off to the side and show you, yes, I am healthy, NFL, come trade for me. Like, by him saying, hey, I'm hurt, so I can't practice, that's not the way you drum up interest.
More from John and Kyle.
When you make your decisions on the wide receiver position specifically, do you have to do it assuming you might not have Jauan for the first few weeks?
I think we make every decision on this roster with so many things in consideration. So, yes, of course.
Has he asked to be traded?
A while ago he did, but that was a long time ago, and we've moved on from that.
That was during camp, or was it before?
I'm not getting into when it was, but it was a while ago.
So that was the last question on Jauan Jennings. What do you make of that? Finally admitting that he did actually request a trade.
I think they're sidestepping trying to narrow down a timeline because they don't want to reveal what this is. The thing is, I could see them not wanting to reveal that, yeah, he requested a trade in March. And then everybody goes, whoa, they really had an opportunity to actually trade him and replace him by getting draft capital or something along those lines. And I can also see them not wanting to reveal, yeah, once we hit camp, he basically requested a trade immediately before, and he's been doing a fake injury ever since. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell something is going on there because they're not happy. And they can't hide the fact that they're not happy. So something is going on there. Whether or not it's him faking an injury, I don't know. It could just be like they're not happy because Jennings has privately made it known, if you don't trade me or give me a new contract, I will not show up until, the last 6 games of the season.
He did say later in the press conference that they had negotiated with Jauan during the offseason, but he didn't want to get into any of that. I completely stand by the 49ers. I would not pay. I would approach him and say, we can give you a little more this year because they have the cap room. They can do it. Even though they like to, well, we don't really have the cap room. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because you rolled a bunch of it over into the following year. So you've got it if you want to use it. If he didn't want it, if Jauan wanted more than that, I would say no, thank you. But I don't blame the 49ers for doing what they're doing. It's it's hilarious to me that this is like, if they just had a regular preseason and they had Jordan Watkins and they had Jacob Cowing, we wouldn't be talking about Jauan Jennings, right? We'd be sitting there saying, hey, Jauan, come when you can, or if you don't, whatever. We got these young guys and let's go. We would not be freaking out, but because we've had all these injuries, now it's become more of a thing than I think the 49ers correctly assumed it was going to be.
Yeah, and I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again. You don't pay the mediocre players. And by mediocre, I mean players that are clearly starters and quality players, but not stars. You pay your stars, and if you have a player who is a quality starter willing to sign for cheap, then you go ahead and give them a contract. The Jennings contract that he got, he proved that, all right, it was worth giving it to him. At the time he got it, I wasn't overly in favor because he had never had a season like he had last year. But if he's wanting anything more than that, then it's a no. Like, you signed Ayuk and you drafted a wide receiver in the first round for the exact ability to count on those players and these mediocre players, not paying them their second and third contracts, just replacing them with rookies or bargain veterans like Valdez-Scantling or even Russell Gage or Robbie Chosen, DeMarcus Robinson. Like, that's what you do. You pay the star, which in this case he got injured, but they made the correct choice in my opinion. You pay your stars, and players like this you don't pay unless they're willing to come at a bargain.
I completely agree with you. You are right. And I'm only saying that because it's your birthday. I just think that if the 49ers wide receiver room got a little bit healthier, this wouldn't even be a thing that we would be worried about. And I'm stealing the graphic that Hutch made from Dieter and Hutch. It's a fantastic graphic, so I stole it because it has all the 49ers roster very clearly. Now, there's been a couple of changes since he came out, but it generally holds. If you have Ricky Pearsall and you have Russell Gage, who I think are probably going to be the starting wide receivers week 1 because Gage is back on the roster now, or at least he will be officially tomorrow, but they said he's coming back on the roster. And you have Kittle, and you have McCaffrey, and you have Brock Purdy, You're good for Seattle week 1. You're
Juice, hello. You can't forget Juice's receiving ability.
Yeah, I certainly can. And you have Brian Robinson. Like, I think you're fine week 1 for
Yeah.
Seattle. And then if you can get through week 1 in Seattle, then you play the Saints. I'm sorry. You should be fine for the Saints too. And then you've got one more game to worry about before Demarcus Robinson comes back. Like, this is not a crisis for the 49ers, in my opinion, by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's a situation that one injury makes it a crisis. But as they sit now, assuming Watkins gets back, assuming Cowan gets healthy, by I would say week 2. I think you can go 1 week without one of those two, but one of those two needs to be here for week 1.
Well, Cowing's going to be out for.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But as long as you have Pearsall, Sky Moore, Gage, and
Robbie Chosen.
I think you're fine because, as you said, there's the secondary pieces in the receiving game for the 49ers is, I would say, pretty easily argued the best in the league. Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are the best receiving running back wide receiver duo in the league, and I don't think it's particularly close because a lot of your other top tight ends don't have the receiving back that Christian McCaffrey is, because Christian McCaffrey is an historically good receiving back, and George Kittle is a historically good receiving tight end.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I just think that, these guys, somebody in the chat said, how did you not throw up when you said those wide receiver names?
It's
those
not
guys
great. It's just, it doesn't need to be great.
Exactly. Those guys are going to be like the Chris Conley, right? Where he has one catch for 18 yards and it comes in a halfway decent spot in the game. You're going to be like, damn, nice play, nice catch. Like, they're not going to be depending on those guys. Now, obviously, of course, if they have more injuries, it's a problem. But guess what? You could say that about any team in the league. If they have injuries, it's a problem. Like,
it's Valdez-Scantling that I forgot that I said Cowing and said, I was sitting there going, there's like a borderline starting caliber one that I'm forgetting, and Cowing came out, but it's Valdez-Scantling is what I was thinking. Like, they're fine.
Andre, YouTube channel member, shout out to you and all our YouTube channel members. Love you guys. Demarcus Robinson will put up better numbers than Jennings will all year. I agree. If Demarcus Robinson stays healthy, I think he's going to have a damn fine year. I really like what I saw from him. I think he could be a perfectly adequate player for the 49ers. And, I said on Twitter, I listed the skill position players, and I said, if this is who the Niners have in week 1 in Seattle, I think they're going to be just fine. And all the Seattle people are coming at me. Oh, we're going to kick your ass and you're disrespecting our team. How do you think you're going to beat our defense with those wide receivers? It's like, well, I'm not going to beat them with just the wide receivers, but that is the point. It doesn't come down to just those wide receivers.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Madden translating to real life football, but take a wild guess at what the only team in the NFL that doesn't have a 90+ rated player.
Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle's the only team that does not have a 90+ rated player, meaning they're the only team without an actual star.
I am here for the Seahawks slander. I love it. Cynthia, thank you very much for the super chat. Says Niners need to take a hard line with players wanting to renegotiate contracts they signed at some point. Happy birthday, Levin. I mean, I do think part of it with Jauan is the Niners are like, dude, we just gave you a contract last year. Like, that has to be part of their thinking. And also, I think it's more of the stuff you said, which is like, we don't want to pay you because you're not going to be part of this team in 2026. And we don't really want you to be part of this team in 2026.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with looking forward and saying, well, we have to trim the salaries somewhere. We're not going to trim it from Nick Bosa. We're not going to trim it from Fred Warner. We're going to trim it from players like Jauan Jennings. I don't know why I cannot get Jauan out of my head.
Jauan Jennings. That's why you can't get it.
What is wrong with me today?
You are broken. His name is Jauan Jennings. Stop thinking of some Purdue basketball player from 1985 and start focusing on this team.
It's from like 2010 or so, but yeah. No, it's you got to trim that. You got to trim the mediocre players. You're not going to cut the stars and try to get them to take pay cuts. You're just not going to re-up the players that have these middle tier contracts. I think that, yeah, they were willing to re-sign Jennings if he was willing to take an identical contract to what he took last year. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they would sign him to like a slight pay bump, like a 2-year, $18 million deal or something like that. But they're not giving him a true pay raise, and they're not wanting him to be here being expensive a year from now.
Yes, no notes, which is rare because usually when you talk, you say a lot of dumb things. Other stuff that we got from the press conference today, I kind of like, I don't want to say it out loud, but like health wise, things are kind of going okay for the 49ers at this point. They got Michael Williams back this week. They got CJ West back this week. Ben Barch is practicing. Upton Stout was back at practice today. Jordan James was back at practice today. They're hoping to get Dominic Pooney back next week, which means he's trending in the right direction for week 1. You know, Stephen Duckett here says the crisis is that our team can't even discuss football without someone getting hurt. I mean, again, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but there are a lot of guys that have returned to practice this week. I'll say it that way because that is just a mere statement of fact.
Yes. I can't really elaborate without going into the jinx territory. So, people that they hope to have back practicing are currently practicing.
Yes, that is. Yes. Thank you for that. I think you all know what we're saying, and we're going to just leave it at that. But obviously that means that those guys will get a lot more reps, and that's important too, especially when you think of like Brock, right? If Brock is going to be throwing to Russell Gage and Robbie Chosen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, like Brock is a chemistry guy. Brock needs to know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, how you look when you're coming out of breaks, because that's how he throws with such anticipation. That only comes if he can get practice time with you, and that goes for the new receivers coming in, that goes for the rookies that are there. He needs that time with them, so it's important that they are back at practice.
I mean, there's really only one route you need timing with Valdez-Scantling, his go route, because that's what he's like 6'5" and fast, but not actually that good of a route runner. That's why he's never become more than the deep ball threat that he was. I mean, last year he averaged 22, I think it was 22.8 yards per reception. Wow, but he always he had 17 catches for like 390 yards or something like that. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that tall. He's 6'4" and he's that fast. Yeah. No wonder this guy keeps getting chances. I mean, he's got the head of a snake, but he's fast and big.
Yeah, he is a very good go route player because he's very hard to keep up with, and he's very big, so he's going to win some jump balls. But that's also what his limitation is. But that's okay. They're literally bringing him in as a bargain replacement player. He can easily be somebody of value. He can stretch the field, and he can have a season like he's had the last 2 years. Like, look at the last 2 seasons. All right, I'm sorry, I'm combining last year's because of the 2 teams there. He had 19 catches for 411 yards. It's the statistics with the Saints in the second half of the season that I was citing earlier, where he had 385 yards on 17 catches. Now, I think you need to acknowledge the caveat there. He caught less than 50% of his targets because that's what he's getting. He's getting the, all right, I'm going to throw it up and try to get a huge gain here. But even with catching less than 50% of his targets, he had 11 yards per target with the Saints. Let me say that again. The Saints. This is the Saints we're talking about in their quarterback, which is probably the worst quarterback situation in the entire league and was that way last year as well. And yet he still averaged 11 yards per target. So, yes, he is a valuable player. He should have some kind of role. Is he going to come in and be like having 100-yard games and things like that? No, but he's going to come in and he's going to have like, I would say like 1 to 3 targets per game, and he will have an effect whether or not he catches those targets on the defense, because when he's in, you have to account for him. A safety will have to be aware of where he's at.
He's going to run a lot of for love of the game routes, just clearing stuff out for other people, but that is okay. Shout out to Gabe Garoni. Incredibly generous super chat. Thank you so much. $50 super chat says, happy birthday, Levin. Eventually, your actual age will catch up to your crankiness age. I'm pretty sure Levin has been like a 65-year-old man for most of his adult life. It says, and can we please get a kicker update, Levin? Well, you know I'm a man of the people. Kicker update. Jake Moody still sucks. Kicker update.
Not according to John Lynch. He had a terrific preseason.
This is the part that I don't get because John Lynch did defend him. Lynch has done it and Shanahan does it. So clearly this is their like talking point with him. They keep saying, oh, well, he had an amazing game against the Raiders. He missed a kick in that amazing game that most kickers now in the league make. Just because it was over 50 yards, like people want to give him a pass. Like, no, that is not what it once was. A 50-yard kick now is like a 40-yard kick. We got dudes no one's ever heard of making 70-yard kicks. But that they keep hyping up that game as like this amazing game for Jake Moody because he hit a walk-off game winner. Sorry, like that kind of tells you all you need to know about what he's done this preseason.
And they needed the walk-off game winner because
he missed the other kick.
He missed the kick. They would have been in victory formation otherwise. Like that, it's kind of like the quarterback who has a lead and they're throwing on third down just to throw, even though they only need one first down. And he throws a pick six. They're now trailing, but then he goes down and gets the field goal, and everybody celebrates the game-winning drive. It's like it's only a game-winning drive because he threw a horrible interception immediately before it.
I mean, let's be real about this. As Andre says, get ready for Moody to shank 1 to 2 kicks in week 1. Kyle won't move on from that moron unless he loses us 4 to 5 games. Look, he's not a moron. Like, we don't have to attack him personally. He's a bad kicker. We can say that. But this is the thing, Levin. They got to go play in Seattle week 1. You think that's going to be a calm place to play, or you think it's going to be a nut house up in Seattle?
I think it'll be very calm. What do you mean?
It's going to be wild, right? Let's say, a Niner drive stalls out in the red zone or before the red zone. If Jake Moody has to kick a 45-yard field goal week 1 in Seattle, is there any chance he's making it?
You know what the excuse will be? There will be rain in Seattle, and they'll say, oh, well, the field conditions.
It'll be windy. It'll be rainy. It'll be like, There's always an excuse. I'm sorry, man. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. And Jake Moody has told you who he is. John Lynch said, well, you got to prove everything in this league. Jake Moody's proven it. He has proven who he is. I don't know why he needs to miss one more kick or cost you one more game for you to suddenly say, oh, we can't have this guy on the roster. It makes no sense.
If only there was some prior example of this team refusing to move on from a poor player at his position, and they just keep going back to him and keep refusing because they say, no, this guy is really good. Like, I don't think they've ever done that before. And there's never been said player that they've done that before that then goes on to some other place and gets an opportunity and bombs out and is replaced within 5 games from that new team that paid him a bunch of money. That's never happened before.
Nope. There's no precedent for it whatsoever. It'd be completely unprecedented. I was actually thinking about it this morning in the shower, Levin. If I was on, because the Niners are keeping Jake Moody, so he's there. What would I say? Sean Turner says Levin has heavy sarcasm voice. What would I say to Jake Moody if I were him to try and help him? Because he clearly has a powerful leg. That's not the issue. His issue, to me, is a crisis of confidence. So what I would say to Jake Moody is I would call him in a room. Hey, Jake, come on in. Sit down. Sit next to me. Okay. Want a drink? Have a drink. Something tells me he'd order a glass of milk, but that's just my own headcanon. Anyway,
Warm milk.
I would say, Jake, look, we all know your struggles here. We know you have talent. We've seen you have, show your talent, but we know you've had some struggles. I think you need to look at it this way. Best case scenario, ideal scenario, you turn things around. You start drilling kicks like we all think you can. Worst case scenario, things continue as they are, and you get cut, and you go on, and you have to play somewhere else. That is a scenario that tons of kickers, great kickers, have had in their career. That is like, it's almost like as a coach, getting fired is like a badge of honor. You know, there are tons of kickers that get cut by their first team and go on and be very good somewhere else. So the worst case scenario is that you take the first step towards having a productive career. So either way, either scenario here, you're going to be okay. That's what I would tell him to try and boost his confidence a little bit. Do you think it would work?
No. I think it's a situation of it's not truly going to be able to come to the light until he's truly out there, a free agent, desperation, and it goes one of two ways. He craters completely or he rebounds like a lot of kickers have. My pep talk would be, come in, sit down, Jake Moody. You know that movie Waterboy, an ancient movie to you, but I'm sure you've probably seen it. That movie, you know how the coach has problems with confidence and he can't create any new plays, but then he starts looking over to the sidelines and he sees the other coach and he pictures them as like as a baby and something that makes him happy. And suddenly he's able to create again and they take off and great things happen. I want you to do something similar. When you look over to our sideline, look at me, but picture me as Jim Harbaugh and go back to your Michigan days and then things will be okay.
At this point, I'm willing to try anything because he's there and he's going to be needed. Like, we like to make fun of kickers, but what do I always say about kickers, Levin? They're like lawyers. Everyone hates them until you need them. And they're going to need him because this team is going to be in close games all year long. They're going to be in close games. What do close games come down to? Field goals. So if he's going to be on the team, you got to find a way to fix it.
Yeah, sorry. I'm being distracted by something because this is kind of a thing that triggers me every time because everybody assumes this. Janikowski, if he was in today's NFL where analytics and data is normal, probably wouldn't have lasted more than a decade in the league. Janikowski, if memory serves, made like 80.1% of his kicks in the NFL. He was not a good NFL kicker. He was way overvalued because of his draft position, because he was one of the first kickers that could make crazy long field goals, and because he looked like your buddy at the end of the bar.
He made 80.4% of his kicks in his career.
Yeah. He was not a good NFL kicker. He had really good years in the beginning, and then he was terrible, but because it was the Raiders and they had nothing to play for the entire second half of his career, they kept him around.
He had a couple of good years. Like 2012, he was 91.2%, and he kicked a 57-yarder that. Yeah, he was 31 of 34. He had a couple of good years. He was also drafted in the first round. So,
yes.
I mean, just to say it out loud, it's ridiculous.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Jake Moody has a higher career make percentage than Janikowski. Granted, I know kicking has changed; it's become more accurate, but Janikowski was average even for his time.
80.4 was Janikowski. Jake Moody right now is at 76.
Oh, wow.
Jake Moody missed 30% of his kicks last year. 30%. That's the guy we got to keep on the team. Anyway, let's get beyond Jake Moody. Look at the roster as a whole, Levin. Now, I know it's changed, but yesterday when it came out, they had 21 linemen on the roster. And now there's even more because they added another one today in Jordan Jefferson, the defensive tackle from Jacksonville. That is the most on the lines of scrimmage that the 49ers have had. Now, they also let Evan Anderson go today, so maybe that's back down to 21. At least it's over 20 along the line. Are you surprised by that? Do you agree with it? What was your take?
I think it's temporary. I think it also shows that basically a lot of the guys they hoped would blossom into clear backups have not. And so they're saying, well, we'll keep you around for a little while longer until we figure out who can actually at least stand in the way of somebody.
And they're worried that those guys might get claimed, so they kept them this year.
Yeah, that's true. That is part of it. But I do think a lot of it has to do with nobody is clearly separated from the other because they've all kind of sucked this preseason, to be honest. And they want to make sure that they get the right guy and they don't release somebody who then ends up being the guy that they should have kept.
I think that what I'm noticing, especially on the offensive line, really mostly on the offensive line, is they talk about wanting to have flexibility, but they don't. And that's part of the reason they kept so many guys is because Austin Pleasance can only be a backup right tackle. He can't be a backup left tackle. That's going to, God, I can't even think of his name at the moment. Spencer Burford. So they don't have that flexibility. So they're like, well, we have to keep both guys because otherwise we don't have a backup right tackle. And that is not good.
And here's my point. Both those guys suck so much that does it really matter if you're forcing them to play the other position? They're going to suck either way. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't want to play somebody at left tackle who hasn't played left tackle, but playing Burford's going to be better. Like, don't waste a roster spot just because you want to keep a guy that maybe does their job 1 out of every 10 plays. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it. Just know that if something happens to Trent Williams, you're royally effed.
God, and something is going to happen to Trent Williams because he hasn't played a full season since, I believe, 2013. So something is going to happen to Trent Williams. Unfortunately, knock on wood, you hope it's a 1 to 2 week injury, or maybe he gets hurt right in the game before the bye and then takes the bye week off to heal and then come. That's like fingers crossed.
Almost like they should invest in the backup now, or the replacement to Trent Williams now.
Well, that ship has sailed, my friend, unfortunately. Now the one person they picked up off of waivers today is Jordan Jefferson. Again, a defensive tackle from Jacksonville. To me, this is a sign that Alfred Collins is not coming along as fast as they would have hoped. He's, a player that can shed blocks and take up space and just generally clog things up in the run game. And I think with Alfred Collins, he wasn't able to get off blocks the way they wanted him to or shoot gaps the way they wanted him to. And it's going to take a little more time. So that's why I think they added Jordan Jefferson.
Can we get like your kicker update, a roster update one that then says it doesn't matter? Because that's what a lot of these claims do.
Roster, update. How's that?
Yeah, good enough. These don't very rarely matter. Put it that way. Like, this is somebody that the Niners hope doesn't see the field. You know what I mean? Or it doesn't play a big role. But they're claiming him because, well, maybe, possibly, we need him.
Oh, I think he's going to see the field. I don't know. Look, if he's going to see the field, I hope he's good. John Chapman had some notes there. Another big-bodied run stuffer, loves to two-gap and plays under, not behind his pads. Gap integrity is his best trait, can lose early but still win the rep. Not a lot to offer in terms of pass rush other than pushing the pocket. Pad level and trying to see the play cost him too often. I mean, these guys are going to have warts, right? There's nobody you're going to pick up after the rosters have been cut down where you're like, I love that guy. Home run move. Because those guys don't ever get to waivers.
Yeah, no. There was some of that in the past. That's kind of like an old NFL thing. There were players even into the 90s that were released by one team and ended up being like legitimate stars. If I'm not mistaken, there's a few Hall of Famers that actually had that happen in the 80s and 90s, but that's not a thing anymore. Like, there are some players that end up getting released and then they blossom into something that's of value, but they don't blossom into, wow, this is a guy that we're going to keep re-signing.
No, unfortunately not. I'm trying to find, I had the list saved of the practice squad players because the Niners added 13, or made, I should say, 13 practice squad signings. Eli Apple, welcome back. Junior Bergen returns. William Bradley King. Derek Canteen, which I continue to maintain is the best, most preseason name of all time. Robbie Chosen, Travis Gibson, Jalen Graham, Drake Nugent, Curtis Robinson, Malik Turner, Sebastian Valdez is back, a guy a lot of people wanted back, Braden Willis, and Nick Zakel, who apparently will never die. Does it shock you, Levin, that not a single person the 49ers waived was claimed by another team?
I would say it's shocking in the matter that the Niners usually do have people claimed, and they have one of the better rosters in the NFL, and usually teams go, well, I mean, they know what they're doing. They draft good guys, so we're going to claim some. But one, that hasn't necessarily been the case for the 49ers this year. Two, it's very clear that the roster this year was very much we have our starters and then we're throwing a bunch of crap at the wall to see what sticks. So I don't think it's quite the same where like in the past it was we're going to have to cut somebody that you know is going to end up being a vital role player somewhere.
The Niners used to be a feeder for like other teams in the league, and now I feel like we're a taker. We're just we're scavenging through the discount bin of DVDs at Walmart, which I realize now is a very topical reference. Sean Turner says Nick Zakel is the new Barnacle. I kind of agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was kept on practice squad, if for nothing else, to be able to fill out a practice. Which, yes, I know it's practice squad, but I don't think they think there's any potential left there.
Where? With Zakel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's a filler. They have a guy, okay, the guy knows the system, and we need extra linemen for practice so we don't tire our guys out too much.
This is a topic that'll interest only me, but I want to throw it up anyway. New numbers in 49ers land. Brian Robinson's going to wear number 3. That's a huge upgrade. Sky Moore will be 9. Robbie Chosen will be 7. Eli Apple will be 30. Braden Willis, 82. Malik Turner, 84. Drew Moss, 65. I love jersey stuff. I love number stuff. And speaking of jersey stuff, Levin, you know what we're getting tomorrow? The official reveal of the rivalry jersey. Don't hold your breath. I'm just saying you don't want to rearrange your calendar. I have seen the jersey. It is, to me, not that impressive at all. There's been way too much buildup about it, first of all. I don't know why they waited so long to reveal them. I think that maybe they're revealing all of them or something. Who knows? Now, I haven't seen the helmet, so I don't know what the helmet looks like. And maybe the jersey and the helmet will look better during a game than they looked on the mannequin. But on the mannequin, the jersey was not doing it for me.
Leak it, Rob. Leak it. Come on.
I would if I could, but I can't leak it.
What are they going to do? They can't take away your press pass.
It's not what they would do to me. It's what they would do to my source. And I'm not going to throw a source.
How would they know it's your source?
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that the 49ers waived Evan Anderson today?
Yeah, I would say that's a little surprising.
I gave it the eye emoji on Twitter. I was like, oh, okay. But strangely enough, I kind of feel pretty good about the defensive line. Like, I think it's one of the stronger position groups on the team. And I continue to be encouraged. Like, I think this defense might actually be pretty damn good this year.
I think so too. I mean, I think they 100% not only aced, but got an A+ for preseason training camp part of the schedule. They looked as good as you could hope for in the preseason and training camp. Saleh looked like, yep, he's a difference maker of a defensive coordinator. Yep, the scheme actually looks like it's creative, and boy, is that it's one of those things like, didn't quite realize how bad it was until I see what good looks like again. You know, but then there's also some players that you're like, oh, they flashed something. D. Winters emerged. The DBs all looked really, really good, especially the cornerbacks. Like, you saw pretty much everything you wanted to see other than the first round pick.
Right. We didn't get to see Michael Williams, unfortunately, because the knee injury, again, back at practice. He's somebody that I really like. People like to say Ricky Pearsall is injury prone. He's not. The only time he missed a game is when he got shot through the chest. He never missed a game in college.
Yeah.
Michael Williams is trending towards injury prone right now. He was hurt his last year in college. He immediately, as soon as they put the pads on this year, injury, Michael Williams. Then he comes back. As soon as they have a joint practice with another team, injury, Michael Williams. Like, he, to me, has got to prove that he can stay healthy. I'm really looking forward to seeing him week 1 because we've heard so many good things. But, come on, man. Best ability is availability.
Yeah, I mean, I'll settle for Nick Bosa, which I think he's injury prone as well. Seems like that family. Yeah, he had multiple injuries in college. He blew out his knee once before, and then he blew it out early in his professional career. Like, And then he had the hip problems last year. Like, he is injury prone.
I mean, he played 16 games his rookie year. He got hurt in year 2. Then he played 17 games, 16 games, 17 games. And last year he played 14 games. To me, Nick Bosa is not injury prone.
He's playing the games. Did Michael Williams play the games in college last year? Yes, he did, but he played injured and he was limited to it. Did Nick Bosa have a poor season last year because he was playing injured the whole time? Yes, he did.
A poor season? I wouldn't say.
For what he is paid, abso-freaking-lutely.
He had a down season for Nick Bosa, yes. But Michael Williams has been hurt twice now to the point where he can't participate in football. At least Bosa's out there.
We don't know if Williams would have played in games. I get what you're saying. I'm not saying it's not a concern. I'm just saying Nick Bosa is the same way, but as you just put it, he's played in enough games, and Michael Williams has a history of being willing to play through injuries as well.
Well, how about you just don't get hurt in the first place? That's probably the better option.
We don't get that in the Bay Area, okay? There's something in the water in the Bay Area, okay?
Well, Michelle asked it a couple weeks ago. What is the water made out of? Apparently she was correct because we all know the injuries are the thing. And I think it's funny that people are like, well, if the 49ers can stay healthy this year, it's like, well, first of all, this year has already started and they already have not stayed healthy. Like, it doesn't just start week 1 of the regular season. You know, week 1 of the regular season is affected by all this stuff now, all this stuff that has happened now. I'm just so relieved that we, all we have to do is get through one more week and then we could have actual games. At least if guys get hurt in the actual games, it's like, okay, obviously you don't want anyone to get hurt, but it's a regular season game. It's football. It's a violent sport. Stuff happens. But this getting hurt in practice, getting hurt in the preseason stuff's got to go, man.
Practice? We're talking about practice? Yeah, it's frustrating, but as we've said, thankfully, it's really weird. So many injuries that it's a concern, but it's also not a concern because almost none of them are serious.
Right now, as far as we know right now.
We'll know more in week 1.
Yes, we will. I want to throw that caveat out there. I'm seeing tweets about the Titans and naming their team captains. Cam Ward is a team captain. That is the least surprising news of all time.
It's almost like if you want somebody to step up and be a leader and you drafted them very early in the first round, you need to make them a captain.
You mean as opposed to deliberately reducing the number of captains to leave off that particular person? Yeah, that's generally what happens. Niners have seen some names come and go, Levin. Who would your captains be this year?
I think Fred Warner is definitely captain, main guy on the defense. Purdy is obvious. I would say Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. We're doing 6.
You got to have Trent.
Yeah, we're doing 6 though, right?
Let me see how many.
So if you do Trent, that's 5. I would say you have to have a second one on the defense. My problem is Nick Bosa is not, to me, a captain type persona. Now maybe he's changed. We have heard some little tricklings of that this offseason that Bosa is trying to be more of a leader, but probably does have to be Bosa. But if not him, then it would be Lenore, I think.
They had 8 captains last year.
So then probably just do both of them. Lenore is going to be vocal and fiery. Warner is going to be calculated and vocal. And Bosa is going to be, hey, that guy's really good. We have to make him a captain.
Yeah, you got to have Bosa to me be a captain. He's one of the best players in the defense. I would go Fred, Bosa, Lenore. That would be my defensive captain. So you have one at every level of the defense, right? Why are you making a skunk face right now? What are you drinking? Does something pop in?
I'm drinking. I don't know what is going on, but it's like it's not leaking, but there's so much condensation on this. And I drink out of this glass frequently, so this is not common. But there's so much condensation. I literally have like a puddle on my coaster that is so deep that the glass keeps getting stuck to my coaster when I go to pick it up, and that's never happened before. So I'm looking at it going, what is going on? Every time I pick this up, 1, it's stuck to the coaster. 2, it starts dripping on me, yet it's not actually leaking. It's not like the alcohol coming out of the glass.
Boy, you got problems over there, huh?
It is. Yeah. I mean, today it was very reminiscent of childhood birthdays, and you know how my childhood and how I approach birthdays. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe you should drink out of the nice glass that I happened to purchase for you last year. Maybe try that one.
Well, I don't want to drive a bus, but honey, I didn't pour the glass. It's my birthday, and I was running late, so I ran downstairs and said, "Can you bring me a glass because I don't have time to get my computer set up and pour the drink." But newsflash, I did have time because somebody was later than me.
By 2 minutes. As I was saying, the 49ers captains, I would go Fred, I would go Lenore, I would go Bosa. One from every level of the defense. So that's 3. Gotta have Purdy, obviously. That's 4. CMC is 5. Kittle is 6. So now you got room for 2 more. I don't think Kyle Juszczyk should be a captain on this team because I want captains that are actually important to the team. And I'm sorry, I don't think Kyle Juszczyk is important. You don't cut guys that are important to the team and then sign them 3 days later. So I'm not going captain for him. Do you need a special teams captain? Who do you go with? That's the thing.
I don't think that there's a good option because there's no like, ooh, this guy's an established special teams ace. And there's also no, you're not making the punter or the kicker captain. You know, the punter is new. I mean, I wouldn't be crazy upset if Morstead, because I mean, he is like really an extreme veteran who's been one of the best punters for a very long time. So you can kind of see it if they're forcing a special teams captain, but there's no way Moody is a captain and you don't have an established ace. So
Moody is getting the chance in the chat. You guys are awesome. Benali says Morstead low-key won me over this offseason. His relaxed tweet yesterday was pretty funny. Did you see that?
Yeah, that I can't remember the exact words he used, but he said, "Yeah, I am coming back like that."
He got cut, and he said RELAX like Aaron Rodgers did a few years ago. And then Mike Silver quote tweeted it and said, "Dude, no one's freaking out over punter cuts." And Morstead saw it, and he was like, "What the hell, man?" Which is pretty funny. I think it would be interesting to name a special teams captain, though, because you're trying to instill this new culture with that part of your team that, hey, it does matter. It does count. I would rather have a special teams captain than a fullback captain. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you could go Morstead or Weeks, the new long snapper, is also one of the best long snappers there's ever been. So you could kind of see that being an option.
Yeah. The problem is they replaced everybody. So, like, generally, you like captains to.
They replaced everybody except for the one they should have replaced.
The longest tenured specialist is Jake Moody, who's clearly the worst one. What about a gunner or something? Like Sean Turner said, Saran Neal. Like, do you want like I don't even know who their special teams.
If you had like an established special teams ace, yeah. Like I would have said the last one we truly had, which is one reason why the special teams has been garbage for a while, was Raheem Mostert. Like when Raheem Mostert was coming in, like the year that he transitioned to running back, I would have been finding him as a captain because at that point he was established as like probably the best gunner in the league for multiple years in a row.
What about, wasn't like George Odom supposed to be their big special teams guy? How'd that work out?
Yeah.
Not great. That'll be another thing that I'm keeping an eye on in week 1 because the special teams, I felt like they've had their moments. You know, they've allowed a couple of returns, but they've been on the whole pretty good. They haven't really gotten much. Junior Bergen, his first punt return was an excellent return. He made a move right after he caught the ball and took it up the sideline. But I believe that was the first preseason game. So who are you really playing against? And he hadn't really done anything since. And now he's not even going to be on the regular roster. Who is the punt returner going to be? Could have
Sky Moore?
Sky Moore? Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be Sky Moore. So I don't know if they're going to go that route with the captains, but I would. I don't think you need 8 this year also. Like, that's a lot of freaking captains, man.
That's what I don't think they're going to have that many captains this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they only do 6.
Good. Do that. Make it simple. But I just it popped into my head because I saw, Cam Ward's a captain. Like, oh yeah, he won the bet. Who else is going to be a captain in Tennessee? Let's be honest, it's the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Mayo was probably a captain last year. I think he was actually.
I mean, I don't follow the Tennessee Titans that closely, but let's just say there's not a lot of excitement there. I was literally hosting on ESPN radio with somebody who covers the Titans, and he's like, yeah, no one cares about Cam Ward at all because
they're scarred.
Well, that and you've got other guys from this draft, like Shador Sanders has gotten more coverage than Cam Ward, which is crazy because Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick and Shador Sanders was picked in the 5th round, but that's a real thing.
Yeah, that is true. They really haven't covered Cam Ward. But it's also like for Titans fans, like my brother's a Titans fan, like he's not allowing himself to get excited like he has in the past because, I mean, they got excited for Vince Young, and then turns out the guy refuses to watch film and is incredibly immature. And then they went from him to, I'm forgetting the bridge. He was the shortest tenured one between him and Mariota, but they had like a decade, 15 years straight of like getting these highly skilled. It was Locker.
Jake Locker.
Yeah, that was the one in between, but they've had like 10 to 15 years now in a row of drafting these highly athletic quarterbacks that show a flash early and then never do it again. Like, obviously Vince Young had the most flash because they made the playoffs and there was actually like 2 years where people thought he was good. But Mariota showed flashes early on and then injuries kind of derailed him. And Locker, I think, if I remember correctly, he had one game early on where he had like 90 rushing yards and people got excited. But the guy is maybe the most inaccurate quarterback of the 2000s.
We got a little breaking news, Levin.
You disappointed me there. I was hoping kicker update came after that.
Nope. Breaking news. This isn't a Titans show.
We can talk about the first. You sit here. Well, hold on. You made the case. Nobody's talking. You brought him up for starters.
Yes.
You talked about how they don't get any attention at all, and I do 1 60-second talk about them, and you're poo-pooing it.
I am poo-pooing it. 60 seconds about the Titans feels like 60 days about the Titans. Can we get back to the last 49er point I want to mention before the end of the show, please?
You still have one?
Yes. The Niners announced today that 5 people will fill in on the radio broadcast for the team this year. Of course, Greg Papa is battling cancer right now, so he's stepping away. Guy Haberman, congratulations, which I believe was one of the predictions I mentioned when it was announced that he was going to do some of the TV.
Congrats, you're 1/5 correct.
Justin Algry, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name, Carlos Ramirez, Jack Smith, and Troy Clarity 11. And I saved Troy Clarity for last because I worked with Troy Clarity at ESPN Radio for many years. I consider him a friend, and he's going to hop on the show this week. He's going to join me. I want to get the whole story, break it down of how he actually got the gig. And it's not his first 49ers game. He actually has called 3 49ers games in his career. They've won all of them. So that's a good sign, I think. He called the Cowboys game against the Niners on Sunday Night Football that I was at a couple years ago, where they absolutely blew the doors off of them, which is very cool. He called Christian McCaffrey's first start in 22, and he called Purdy's first start in 22. So Troy Clarity, come on down, and he's going to come on the show.
He's been on before, correct?
He has been on before. We both interviewed him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. My take on reading that story was, boy, nobody feels better about that press release than Greg Papa, because he's sitting there going, look, it takes 5 guys to replace me.
Well, the interesting thing was that I had heard that somebody else was going to do it, whose name I can't remember now. He did it in the preseason, and I had heard he was going to get the gig, but Papa doesn't like him. They have like a feud, and now all of a sudden it's like, no, actually, we're going to get 5 guys to do it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, just maybe. He had something to do with it.
I think the guy, I can't remember his name either, but
Gerald.
He's been around a while. I think they're wanting a young person, and I think they're taking this as a trial run for a future replacement of Greg Papa.
Could be. If that is the case, then I hope it goes to either Guy or Troy, because I like both of them very much. I thought Guy did a fantastic job on the preseason broadcast. I loved it. Frankly, I liked it better than Paul. Just saying. But we'll see how it all shakes out. But anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm an old radio head, and I wanted to give my guy Troy some love because he works hard. He's good at what he does.
Yeah, I noticed the name then. I was like, oh, that's the guy that's been on before.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the voice of the Cardinals, correct? Or the Stanford Cardinals.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, he's worked in the Bay Area for years.
Is it Stanford Cardinals? No, there's Stanford Cardinal.
Yeah, it's singular.
I don't want to get my head taken off in the comments to this video.
Well, I kind of want to feel free to eviscerate Levin. We'll keep doing the show for another couple minutes if you guys want to make fun of Levin.
Did you see the comment on our last week's show?
No, what was it?
Or it might have been instant reaction. I actually don't remember. Somebody just brought it up actually in the comments. Somebody got after me because I said I assumed California had major inspection laws, and they're like, I'm so sick of people assuming California is so heavy in regulation, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, California is heavy in regulation, but apparently not on this, because I did get a text from our friend Benjamin Barrett saying that he has to do an emissions test like once every 2 years, and that's all. I'm like, well, this is some BS. I actually responded back to him, good for you.
Cheery as ever, Levin. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, please. If this is your first time watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Please come back for more. I promise if you give us a chance, you will like what you see. I'm not even going to ask you what you're doing for the rest of the night because I know you're not doing any celebratory birthday activities.
I'm going to bed because I work tomorrow. I work in about 6 hours.